Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 312 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by the main man himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, especially during a big fight week, which this one of course is. But before we get into that, obviously I'm talking about the preview in the Fury Wilder 3. We will of course start with the review part of the show. We're going to discuss the fights that took place last weekend. We're going to start here at the Allianz Cloud in Milan, Italy. Over here, as I said, top Italian prospect Daniele Scardina, now 20-0. His opponent Jürgen Doberstein actually retired on his store at the end of round 4. Doberstein now 26-5 with a draw. That one was for the WBO Intercontinental Super-Middleweight title. He looks quite a good fighter, Scardina. Elsewhere in the card, we had Francesco Patera knockout in 3 rounds Davies Boshiero, who's now 49-7 with 2 draws. He's always had a very, very, very padded record, Boshiero. So I'm not really surprised by that one there. I think Patera, for me, would have always been the favourite in that fight, but I'm not sure I expected the third round KO. That's quite early. Patera, like I say, now 25-3. That one was for the vacant WBO Intercontinental lightweight title. On the undercard, Sandy Ryan picked up her second professional win, a KO in round 4 against Alexandra Vujovic. Moving out now to the Glendale Civic Center in Glendale, Arizona, USA. This one was on the Friday, October 1st, last Friday. Raimundo Beltran topped the bill, 37-9 with a draw now, a retirement win after his opponent Edgar Ramirez retired after 6 rounds of a scheduled 8-rounder. Ramirez now 18-19 with a draw. Moving out now to Mexico at the Verite Social Venue. Over here, Miguel Vasquez, former world champion, now 44-10, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Oliver Flores, who's now 30-4 with 2 draws. That one was for the vacant WBA Federatin lightweight title. Moving out now to the Oldham Leisure Centre. Just really one fight to mention over here that really surprised me when I saw it, actually. Ryan Doyle, 18-4 with a draw. I remember him, I think, knocking out, if I'm not mistaken, Reece Bellotti. I'm sure he knocked Reece Bellotti out, and, you know, he was a Commonwealth champion. So, yeah, just want to make sure I'm right on that one. Yeah, he knocked Reece Bellotti out, become Commonwealth champion, lost it to Jordan Gill, fought Lee Wood, got stopped by him. But anyways, he got in there with journeyman Lee Connolly, who's 7-61 with 5 draws, and it ended in a points draw after 4 rounds there. So very, very surprising. Yeah, that seems like, I mean, judging that, I didn't see the fight, but it seems like, is he completely done now, Ryan Doyle? Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that one in there. It went under the radar. Moving out now to the Wembley Arena in Wembley, London. Obviously, it was supposed to be a card topped by Chris Eubank Jr. I think he had a couple of opponents pull out and a last-minute replacement, and then his replacement opponent didn't pass the medical, so he was ruled unfit by the British Boxing Board of Control, so the fight fell through on the day of the fight. In the end, the card did go ahead, but of course, without Eubank on it, it kind of took a little bit of flavour away. Let's talk about that card though. Harvey Horn with a win. He's 9-0, a points win over 6 against Adam Yahaya, who's now 27. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong. 21-7 with 2 draws. Joe Pigford, I cannot believe they didn't televise it on Sky. He's now 18-0 with 17 KOs. A KO in round 5 against Isaac Aryi, who was down twice. Criminal that one wasn't on TV. Probably the most exciting fighter on the card. Arguable. But anyways, Richard Riakporhe returned to the ring after almost 2 years out with a points win over 8 against Krzysztof Twardowski, who's now 9-3. Richard Riakporhe 12-0. Seemed to be feeling the pace around about the mid-rounds. I mean, I guess it must have been something to do with the layoff, but yeah, it didn't seem like his old self. Twardowski down in the 8th round. Obviously, Richard Riakporhe now with a new trainer. I don't think he's training anymore with Mark Tibbs. Linus Udofia as well with a win. He's 17-0, a TKO in round 3 against Giulio Vrenozzi, who is now 17-4. He was down in the 3rd round. Mikel Lawal as well, 14-0, a TKO in round 3 against Benoit Huber, who I think was a last minute kind of replacement. I'm sure he was supposed to be taking on I forgot the guy's name, bald head from Ireland, Stephen Ward, I think it was, the guy that got banged out by Ricards Bolotniks in a round. I don't know if it was Stephen Ward, I've completely forgotten the guy's name, but anyway, whatever. Jermaine Brown as well with a win. He's now 10-0, a points win over 10 against Jamal Lado, who's now 8-2. And the escalated main event, which was supposed to be the chief support, but obviously it got elevated. David Avanesian now 28-3 with a draw. Friend of the show, very pleased for him. He was able to defend successfully his EBU European welterweight title against Liam Taylor. It was a step too far in his case. He's now 23-2 with a draw. Like I say, knocked out in round 2. Down in the 1st round as well. Completely overmatched and outclassed. It's a shame really, because I gave Taylor a chance. I think he's a decent boxer. He came with interesting tactics to try and meet Avanesian in the middle of the ring, which was very brave, but the clear disparity in levels makes me think, where is the ceiling for Liam Taylor? I'm starting to think, is he gonna never be able to push past domestic level? I'm not sure, because that is the next step up, European, and to get banged out in 2 rounds, that was very impressive. So yeah, that one was that one, and that is it for the review part of the show. I've flown through that as quick as I could. The final thing for me to do just before we wrap up part 1 is to welcome our special guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA Super-Middleweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Callum Smith. Callum, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you back on. So, Callum, we last spoke back in 2018. It's been a while. At the time, you were fresh off your win over George Groves. But, of course, let's jump to the present. You're fresh off this devastating win over Lenin Castillo on the Joshua Usyk undercard. Talk me through the fight, Callum, and that perfect right hand to finish it.
Yeah, it was a good platform. It was a good venue, good show to be a part of, and I didn't necessarily need a big performance. I need to get back to winning ways, but a performance kind of would leave people speaking about me, in the days following it, rather than just, Callum Smith's back, he got a pretty boring win, so to speak. So as much as I didn't go out there for the knockout, I knew Castillo was Jordan, but he'd never been stopped. He'd been to points with Bivol and Marcus Brown, who are both really, really good fighters. So, and I knew he was no pushover, but I felt really good in the build-up. I had a really good camp. I felt strong at 175, and I'm glad that I showed that I have carried my power up. I think there was a lot of question marks over me in the build-up to this fight in terms of how I would be at 175, would I be able to carry my power and size up, how I'd be coming off the loss with the new trainer, and just in terms of just motivational. No people question how much I still wanted to achieve, the goals that I wanted to achieve. So it was good to just tick a few of them boxes and show that I am a big 175, and I have carried my weight up from my power up from 168. Sorry.
And have you ever knocked anyone out like that? I mean, the guy was obviously twitching on the floor. It was worrying for everyone initially, including yourself.
Yeah. No, obviously the Blackledge knockout was a pretty bad one, but once he kind of hit the floor, he sort of come around and was up and responsive, so to speak. Whereas the Castillo one, he was unresponsive for quite a while, it was scary as fighters. As much as you're throwing punches and you're trying to knock your opponent out and get the win, you don't want to do any serious harm, so to speak. And when that happens, and every now and again there is a bad injury in boxing, and I just fear the way, so to speak. It's a sport at the end of the day. It's never been anything more than that for me. It's just I want to win, and I want to prove I'm the better fighter. I don't want to inflict any serious damage. So yeah, it was scary, but no, thankfully he was okay. He recovered, and he messaged me himself on Instagram the next morning, so it was all good in the end. But yeah, it wasn't a nice 10-20 minutes in the ring.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you mentioned, obviously, you're up at 175. I want to just share a real quick, funny story with the listeners. The first time I ever met you, Callum, you probably won't remember. It was at the press conference for your brother, Liam, when he boxed Canelo in London. And I remember at the time, you kind of used me as a human shield while you shoved the cake in your mouth. You was at 168. You said Joe's not looking, is he? And shoved the muffin in your mouth. And obviously you're up at 175. I'm sure you can eat a cake or two now.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more comfortable. But no, listen, 168. Fowler was questioning it for a long time. Oh, he'll be at 175 soon. And this was like back in 2013, 2014, and I was always doing it correct, and I was doing it right, and I was performing very well at it. And I reached to become a world champion and done one in the division. So I was obviously doing it right. And then I just think towards the end, I was maturing, I was getting a lot bigger, and it was just that. I think the last couple, again, no excuses for the loss, but it was just starting to affect my performance in the ring. And I always said the minute that was happening, I decided to move up, and I always wanted to try and be a 2-8 world champion anyway. I didn't know when the move would be, and it's come at this time now, and I'm excited. I'm excited for what lies ahead. It's a very good division. There's a lot of really good fighters, but it's a division that I feel I can become a world champion in.
And we simply have to get the measuring stick out. Obviously, you mentioned your first fight at the weight. You boxed Castillo, who, as you said, had gone the distance with Marcus Brown and Dimitri Bivol, two top-level, fully-fledged 175-pounders. For you to do that to Castillo in just 2 rounds is undeniably impressive. Was that the kind of statement you wanted to make coming off, as you mentioned, that sole career loss to Canelo, to let people know you're still a top fighter, you've still got the hunger?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the main goal was obviously just to get the win, but you want people to sit up and take notice, and a win over Castillo doesn't really get people's attention, but a win in that fashion probably does. I got a lot of good publicity after the fight, and a lot of people who ripped me off after the Canelo fight are now saying, "Oh, we did really, like, Kennedy forgot what I could do and what I was capable of," and too many people judge you off your last performance. And I think boxing, it's bad for that, so to speak. Like, I've had a good performance now, and people are banging the drum about me, and next fight I also underperform. The same people would be the first to criticise me. You kind of, boxing a sport where you're only as good as your last fight for some fans, and it was good to just kind of get back to winning ways, but in a way that people will sit up and take notice, and people will now probably give me a chance against some of the champions. Where I think before last weekend, the minute you mentioned me at 175, a lot of people didn't really give me much of a chance. They just kind of wrote me off, and I don't think he'll do anything up at 175. But no, I've had a lot of good kind of praise after last weekend, and myself personally, I always believed I was good enough to do it up at this weight division, and I'm excited for the next whatever fight it may be, and it could be a good journey. I enjoyed my journey at 168, and I'm looking forward to the one at 175.
I'm looking forward to it too. You're training now with Buddy McGirt. How did that come about, and what does this mean in terms of living situations? Do you only travel out there for camps? Would Buddy be coming here? What's the situation?
Yeah, the last camp I kind of, well, to start off, I knew of him. He trained my brother back in, I think, 2007 or something. So I knew of him, and as a boxing fan, I know of him as a fighter and as a coach. He's got very good achievement in both departments. And when he was over with Chisora, he come down to Liverpool for the weekend to meet up with my brother. Obviously, they've got a decent relationship, and I've done a bit of pad work with him, and I really liked what he was kind of teaching me. And I went over to LA for, I think it was 5.5 weeks, just under 6 weeks, and done the first bit of my camp over there, and then Buddy come back for for the last 4. So it was kind of split, and I think moving forward, I'd like to do the same. Some weeks over in LA, it just changes it up. As much as home comforts are good, it's sometimes good to take yourself out your comfort zone and go over to LA, which is a real good boxing city. It's thriving over there. There's a lot of top fighters there, in and out different gyms, and the sparring there is a lot different. And it was good to just get over there, get away from Liverpool, and be in a new environment where I didn't know anyone originally. So it was good to just mix in, and I felt I learned a lot in the weeks over there. And then I finished my camp back in England. With the fight being back in England, I was going to have to come over here anyway, but Buddy come over for the last 4 weeks, and we kind of just finished off in England. So it was good to get a mix of both, and I'd like to keep it similar moving forward, some in the UK and some part of the camp over in LA.
And this win over Castillo has got some people saying already that they think you're the best light heavyweight in the country. Before you made the move up, some people would have been split between Buatsi, between Lyndon Arthur. I personally felt Callum Johnson. How do you feel about being ranked number 1 already by a lot of people after just 2 rounds?
Yeah, again, it's all fans and it's all opinions, and certain people will have different opinions, and a lot of people's opinions will be based on their agenda of what fighters they like or may know. But I believe in myself. I believe I can be a world champion, and I believe I can beat anyone in this weight division. That includes all the names you just mentioned. It's a very good division. It's a very good competitive division with a lot of good fighters who I do respect, and I rate a lot of them. But my personal opinion as a fighter, I believe I beat them all. I believe I can beat anyone in the world on the given day, and I can sit and say this as much as I want, but results speak for themselves, and I like to prove that over the next year or so, and hopefully some of the fights can be made. And I think we're all in the same position. We all want to be a world champion, so hopefully one of us can go and do it, and then maybe we can get some of the fights made. But it's a good division. It's a good division to be a part of, but a division that I definitely feel I can become the top.
And I want to get your reaction to Usyk's win over Joshua. Were you able to sit ringside and watch it?
Yeah, I did. I sat ringside. First and foremost, the atmosphere was unbelievable. One of the best I've been at. I think Joshua's ring walk with the Rocky Fortune was great, wasn't it, to be fair. But in terms of the fight, I think it was a bit of both. Obviously, I've always been a big Usyk fan. I knew how good he was. The only question mark was how big he was and whether he could take it off a genuine heavyweight. But I don't really think we got to see that. I don't think Joshua kind of imposed the size and used it to his strength. He kind of tried to outbox him and beat Usyk had his own game, which I believe was always going to be tough. It was a good boxing match. There was a lot of skill involved, but I just think that's Usyk's game, and I think he did ask Usyk how he'd liked the fight that had gone before, and he'd have chose that way. He'd have wanted a boxing match where he could use his skills. I don't think he'd have liked the physical, tough fight against a big, genuine heavyweight like Joshua, who certainly can punch. But look, that's not a criticism of Joshua. He was in there, and it's always different when you're in there. But I didn't see the fight playing out the way it did. I thought early on it would, but then I thought Joshua would start to use his size later on in the fight. But you've got to give props to both. Props for Joshua for taking the fight, the position he was in. He didn't really have to. His resume is great compared to some of the other heavyweights, and you've got to give props to Usyk. He's a phenomenal fighter, and to do what he's done at cruiserweight and now a heavyweight, you've got to just take your hat off to him.
And this is Team Smith brothers fight week again. Obviously, your brother Liam takes on Anthony Fowler. We know last time out Liam got stitched up in Russia. We know he should have won that fight, but how do you see this one playing out? Obviously, I know you're backing your brother to get the win, but perhaps it's been a while since he's seen a style like Anthony Fowler's with that kind of work rate.
Yeah, definitely. It's got the potential to be a good fight. Obviously, from a personal point of view, I believe the best version of Liam beats him well, but you've always got to expect the best of your opponents, and Liam's trained for the best possible Anthony Fowler, and on a day, the best possible Anthony Fowler is a good fighter. I don't think you've seen enough of it since he's turned professional, but I do believe he has improved since going to Shane McGuigan. I do believe he's a better fighter now than what he was a couple of years ago. But so, look, Liam's got to be switched on. He's got to expect the best version of Anthony Fowler, but I just think as the fight goes on, Liam's experience and class will show, and I do believe he gets the win, and I believe he can look good doing it. But it's a good fight. Two local lads, a local derby. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot of bragging rights and sold out Echo Arena. That the crowd will be a good atmosphere, which can play a part in certain tactics and how people perform on the night. So it should be good. It's a good fight for the city, especially after the pandemic, getting the arena filled out and something to look forward to. So from a neutral and from a Liverpool lad, it's going to be great for the city. But obviously from a personal point of view, I'm back on Liam.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that fight. And this question I'm dying to ask you, it has to be said. Obviously, you're a former world champion. The other 175s we've mentioned domestically haven't yet achieved the world title, but there are so many interesting fights that obviously could be made, like Buatsi, like Craig Richards, like Yard, like Lyndon Arthur, Callum Johnson. Do these kind of fights interest you, Callum, or do you feel that respectfully you're a level above those guys right now and essentially it would be an unneeded step backwards?
A bit of both, to be honest with you. Again, like I said, not to be disrespectful, but I do believe I've done what none of them could do. I've won a world title, albeit at the weight below, but I think I've shown ability-wise I'm capable of being at the very highest level. And I think the last fight showed that size-wise I'm definitely big enough and hit hard enough to do it at 175. But the fights still do interest me. That as we just spoke about with Liam, domestic fights or local derbies, you do get that little bit more attention and a little bit more the juice involved, so to speak. So the fights do interest me at the minute. I want to be a world champion and I'm looking towards the world titles, and unless a win over one of them was to get me one or get me closer to it, then it has to make sense for me. But I do believe I'm ahead of them, but I do know the fights do interest me regardless. So I know if my team was to say one of those would be next fight and it'd put me one step closer to where I want to be, then of course it would make sense. So we'll have to just wait and see what the future holds. But it is a good division to be a part of, and hopefully some of the fights can be made, whether it's me against one of them or two of the others against each other. It would be a shame if they didn't happen. A division like it is, hopefully we do get to see some of them fight each other.
Now, I've mentioned his name a couple of times in this interview. I was waiting for you to perhaps maybe object to it, but former gym mate Callum Johnson, some people have posed the question that seeing as you're probably the two best 175s we have, would you get it on? Is that a fight that you wouldn't take because of knowing him so well?
Preferably not, to be honest with you. I know I'm very close to Callum. I've known him a long time, and look, if he was a fight for no world title, then it'd be considered. But I just think there's enough other people to fight without fighting each other. I do class him as a friend. That I've known him a long time, and ideally I'd rather not, to be honest with you. But if I say you never know, but you've just named 6 other domestic fighters, so I'm sure we could fight one of the others rather than fight each other. So ideally, look, I wouldn't like to fight them, but you never know in boxing.
Absolutely. And just coming down to the last couple of questions, I wanted to ask if you've got anyone on your radar at the minute. I'm guessing you're probably looking to the top echelon kind of thing, the likes of Bivol and the likes of Joe Smith Jr. perhaps. Is there any other names that you would love to mix it with in the very near future, Callum?
No, not necessarily. I've never really, even down at 168, never even want to call anyone out. I kind of just set my sights at the champions and work my way towards them and beat whoever I have to get there. And it's the same now. Moving up a weight division, I want the three men who hold the belt, and they're who I want to fight. I want to call myself a 2-8 world champion, and I believe I can beat whoever I have to get it. And I know I'm willing to beat whoever I have to earn my shot. So I've always kind of just left that down to my team. I've never been one of these fighters who sit and call people out, but I'm confident I can do it, and I believe over the next 12 months or so I'll get my opportunity, and it's down to me to deliver.
And a few hours after your brother Liam fights, we move stateside. Fury Wilder 3. You got to put your neck on the line here, Callum. Who wins?
Yeah, I think it depends what fight you read more into. The first one, I think Wilder obviously showed he's got the power to end it at any point. He was so close to doing it. I think if the ref would have waved it off when Fury hit the floor, I don't think there'd been many complaints, to be honest with you. It looked like he was out, but he gave him the benefit of the doubt, and it worked out to be beneficial. But the second fight was so one-sided, and it's hard to see mentally how Wilder can come back for that. It wasn't just he caught him and got rid of him. He genuinely just bullied him for however long the fight lasted, and it's hard to look past that. And I just think as long as Fury's switched on and still respects Wilder's power, because it's obviously still there, and he's got to be switched on and can't afford to be too complacent. I think if the right Fury turns up, then there's no reason why he can't do exactly what he done in the second fight.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, I'm sure. And just finally, Callum, if you've got any closing words just before we wrap it up to the listeners, say whatever you like before we wrap it up, my friend.
No, just thanks for the support. I've always had great support, and just keep watching, and hopefully I can deliver a world title pretty soon, so stay tuned. But yeah, just thanks to all my supporters. They've always been great to me, and I'm grateful for it.
Well said. Listen, Callum, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Thanks for your time. Congrats again on the win, and I hope we can speak again real soon.
Thank you, mate. Speak soon. Take it easy.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with the fact that Archie Sharp is headlining a fight night at York Hall. It's actually promoted by MTK. It's actually not a Frank Warren card, which I was quite surprised by. But anyway, Archie Sharp tops the bill. You've got a few different guys on there. You've got Jordan Reynolds, Sam Gilly. You've got a bunch of prospects, really. I think the tickets start at about £40. I think the best ticket in the house is about £100. So it should be a good night there at York Hall. I haven't been in a while. I might have to get myself over there. November the 5th, Michaela Meyer takes on Maver Hamadouch. That one, of course, for the for the unification for the junior lightweight titles at the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, live on ESPN Plus. Really happy for Michaela Meyer. We had her on the show a couple months back now. A big fan of hers, and very happy to see her back active. Obviously, she's wanted that Hamadouch fight for a long time, so I'm really pleased for her, and hopefully the winner, I think, will be Meyer, and I'd like to see her try and, fight Terry Harper. That's the fight I want to see. Elsewhere, we have the fact that Demetrius Andrade is defending his WBO middleweight world title against Jason Quigley. That one's set to take place November the 19th in New Hampshire. That's a Friday, November the 19th. It's going to be on DAZN, of course. And that is about it for the news. So moving on now to the preview part of the show. All of these fights, by the way, take place on Saturday. We've got one in Germany, we've got 2 in the UK, and of course one big one in the States. Let's start in Germany for the IBO World Light Heavyweight title. Robin Krasniqi, 51-6 in a 12-rounder against Dominic Bozell, 31-2. That one's at the G-Tech Arena in Magdeburg. Nothing really to mention on the undercard. Moving out now to the Echo Arena, Liverpool, Merseyside, United Kingdom. On this card here, we see the pro debut for I don't know if we call them 2020 or 2021 Olympians now, but Peter McGrail making his debut. No opponent just yet for him. Apparently on the card as well is Natasha Jonas, 9-2 with a draw. No opponent yet for her. We've got Rhiannon Dixon, 3-0, taking on Anna L. Angerville. She seems quite angry. 1-1-1 her record. We've got Solomon Dakers in a real step up. He's only 2-0. He takes on Kamil Sokolowski, the toughest man in Poland. 10-22 with 2 draws. They've given Sokolowski a hell of a lot of notice as well. I tell you, that is dangerous, man. I'm a big fan of that risk there. Boy, oh boy, I've seen him knock out a few prospects, Sokolowski. We've got Luke Willis, 10-0, a prospect, taking on Ryland Charlton, the pint-sized powerhouse, 6-1 with a draw. That's over 10 rounds there. We've got Shannon Courtney returning to the ring finally. I believe that's her first fight since the fight with Ebony Bridges, I want to say. And Ebony Bridges has had 2 fights in that time, both in the UK. So she's back here. Shannon Courtney, 7-1 in a 10-2-minute round contest against Jamie Mitchell. That one, of course, for Courtney's WBA female bantamweight world title. We've got Kieran Conway, 16-2 with a draw against James Metcalf, 21-1. I believe both men have fought Ted Cheeseman. So that should be a really good fight there, because I think both of their fights with Ted Cheeseman were really good fights. So that has got war written all over it there. And also, speaking of the man, Ted Cheeseman is on the card, 17-2 with a draw in a 12-rounder against Troy Williamson, a man from the Frank Warren stable. So it is Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn here. Williamson undefeated, 16-0 with a draw. That one's for the British super welterweight title. It's quite a big card featuring a lot of 154 fighters, to be honest with you. Obviously, I said there Cheeseman, Conway, Metcalf, Williamson, and the main event. I'm not sure if both guys have got business at 154 or are they up at 160. I've forgotten. But Liam Smith, the main event, 29-3 with a draw, takes on Anthony Fowler, 15-1. Anthony Fowler, friend of the show. However, we just spoke to Callum Smith, so not sure who I want to win that one there. Wouldn't want to annoy Callum Smith. It's going to be a great fight. Liam Smith, very, very tough. You think about it, the 2 losses in his career, well, he's got 3. One of them was the last fight against Kurbanov. He got stitched up in Russia, if you watch the fight. The other 2 losses, Munguia and Canelo. No shame in those losses there. He is a very, 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 very tough guy. However, you'd say he's probably towards the end of his career, whereas Anthony Fowler, still on the way up, I think, as a professional. Very, very good amateur, we sometimes forget. And Anthony Fowler's got that work rate, like I said to Callum Smith a few moments ago. He's got that work rate, and it could be something new or something, not new for Liam Smith, but something that he's not used to all the time. I think it's going to be a great, great fight, but look out for those body shots, Anthony Fowler. Look out for those body shots, because we know that the Smith brothers love to hit to the body. Very, very, very excited for that one. Huge fight there for Liverpool, but I think if I had to put my neck on the line, I think Liam Smith might pinch it, maybe points, but it's going to be a good fight. Really looking forward to that card. And another card that unfortunately clashes with this one, it's going to be at the Arena Birmingham in West Midlands. That card I mentioned a moment ago, by the way, the Liam Smith Fowler card, obviously on DAZN. This one is on BT Sport though. Starting with the undercard, we have Callum Johnson, friend of the show, 19-1 in a 10-rounder against Server Emuleyev, who is 24-2. He got knocked out in one of those 2 losses. This one's for the WBO Global Light Heavyweight title. You've got Liam Davies. I think he last boxed at this venue. I'm pretty sure I was there. He knocked out an African fighter. He's 10-0 in a 10-rounder against Dixon Flores, 17-7 with 3 draws. That one's for the vacant WBC International Silver Super Bantamweight title. I'm expecting Liam Davies to probably get a stoppage there. Dixon Flores, not sure how old he is, but I feel like he's been around for a long time. I want to say he's probably quite old, especially for a bantamweight, and I'm sure he was down at about flyweight at one point. Could be wrong. Echo Esserman as well on the card. Great fight between 2 undefeated fighters here. Echo Esserman 15-0 in a 12-rounder against Danny Ball, 10-0 with a draw. Danny Ball coming off that win last time out against Sam Gilly, friend of the show. That one is for the British and Commonwealth welterweight titles over 12 rounds. Going to be a great fight. I've noticed that if you put a bet on that fight going the distance, you get more than even money. So I'm really surprised to see that. That could be a bet to jump on. And the main event, Brad Foster, 14-0 with 2 draws, takes on Jason Cunningham, 29-6 there for the Commonwealth, British and European Super Bantamweight titles. It's a brilliant, brilliant fight. Brad Foster, I remember at one point seeing him fight Lucian Reed. I think they had 2 fights and he come off... I think they had 2 fights. I think he had a draw in one of them and a win in the other, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, still undefeated. Very, very good prospect. Jason Cunningham, who I felt was completely done, was obviously able to beat Gamal Yafai and look really good doing it. So that kind of makes you think, hey, he's not done. He's got something left, and he's a deserved European champion, and if he can capitalise on that win over Yafai here, this is mega. He could be one of those guys like a Maxi Hughes that massively goes under the radar but deserves huge plaudits. And Yeah, it's going to be a great fight once again. I mean, Brad Foster, not a massive puncher. I expect this fight to go the distance, and Brad Foster's going to be tested here. This is going to be such a brilliant fight. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to be flicking between DAZN and BT, that's for sure. And going out to Vegas now, the T-Mobile Arena. It is a big one in Nevada, USA. Going to come to you in a sec, Eddie, but I'm going to fly through this undercard. Yeah, it's going to be on Fox pay-per-view, of course, and BT Sport pay-per-view over here. On the undercard, friend of the show, the real big baby Jared Anderson, 9-0 in an 8-rounder against Vladimir Tereshkin, who's 22-0 with a draw. We've got Rances Barthélemy, 28-1 with a draw. No opponent just yet, according to my source. 10 rounds, but no opponent just yet. We've got the return to the ring for Julian J. Rock Williams, 27-2 with a draw. His first fight back after getting knocked out by Banana in Philly. He takes on Vladimir Hernandez, 12-4. I think he's a bit better than his record suggests, though. We've got Edgar Berlanga, 17-0. He had 16 first-round knockouts in a row. Then he went the distance last time out and proved he is actually human. He takes on Marcelo Esteban Caceres, I believe from Argentina, 30-2 with a draw. It's another step up, really, for Berlanga. It's for the vacant WBO, NABO Super-Middleweight title. Will he get a knockout, Berlanga? I think probably so. We've got Robisi Ramirez, 7-1 against Orlando Gonzalez Ruiz, who's 17-0. That's another step up for Ramirez. I think Ruiz, I believe, was a good amateur. That's over 10 rounds there. We've got a brilliant fight between the two undefeated heavyweights. Efie Jagba of Nigeria, 15-0. It's for the WBC Continental Americas heavyweight title and the WBO NABO heavyweight title. He takes on the Cuban Frank Sanchez, who I believe is about 28 on paper, but if you look at him, you can see he's at least 48. He's 18-0. That's over 10 rounds. You've got the rematch between Robert Helenius, 30-3, and Adam Kalnacki, 20-1. Probably my personal biggest upset of 2020. The rematch takes place over 12 rounds. Do not blink. That's going to be so exciting. And then to cap it all off, the trilogy fight. The main event, Tyson Fury, 30-0 with that questionable draw, and he takes on Deontay Wilder, 42-1 with a draw for the WBC heavyweight world title. There's a few fights you might want to give your take on there, Eddie, but I'm just going to hand it over to you. Let me know what you think. I mean, it's a brilliant card. I think I'm going to have to put my hand in my pocket and pay for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I don't have any of those. Wait, what is this on, by the way?
This one's on Fox pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm having to just go on ahead and do that because this is an excellent card. I can't miss card. I mean, F.A. Jock about Frank Sanchez. I was like, what? I was like, wow. I was just thinking, I'm surprised that they're putting it on the line so early because you know how it is in boxing, and most people want to hold on to that O as long as they possibly can. So to see with these two guys going in with a possibility of losing is just it's kind of nice to see. You know, boxing is, I feel like even with all of the sideshow things that are going on, I think boxing is kind of moving up a little bit. I think it's more on the front page a little bit more than it has been some in recent years. So it is looking good. That's a fight I'm really looking forward to. But also the rematch. I didn't know that fight was on there. I didn't know that.
Kalnacki and Helenius, yeah.
Kalnacki, there you go. I didn't want to say what I always say. His name is. I call him Babyface because that's the name. I call him Babyface. But that is something I'm looking forward to because I really want to see if Helenius, because I mean it looked like Kalnacki was going to do what he normally does, overwhelms guys, throws a lot of punches, difficult work, you know what I mean, and thought he was just going to take him, end up taking him to the cleaners, to be honest. Turned out he got caught with that shot, and it kind of evened things up, and he ended up getting him out of there. So I just want to see if it was just a fluke. Obviously, conventional wisdom would say that that's probably what it was, even though Helenius has been a high-level guy, kind of, at least highly touted. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and seeing where it's going. And obviously, the main event is, look, there's a little bit of like a headline with, oh, is Wilder better because of the trainer? And I love Malik. That's my man. But I just don't know that you can change someone at the age he is with the amount of skill he has and having the success that he's had with that amount of skill and think that you're going to just up everything. Now, granted, he's had a serious setback with the loss with his last, fight with Tyson losing. But at the end of the day, when times get tough, especially in the ring, you're going to be who you are. And I think at the end of the day, I just don't think Deontay is going to be able to add enough to his game in one camp to completely change who he is. You understand what I'm saying? And I think Tyson is just really on another level when it comes to boxing skills, and I think that's going to be the difference. But we all know it only takes one, for a guy like Wilder. So as long as Tyson stays in control and doesn't get too excited and too overconfident, he walks to a victory, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a brilliant fight card. You obviously mentioned the two undefeated heavyweights, Jagba and Sanchez. It is early, and also, like I say, the other undefeated heavyweights, Jared Anderson and Vladimir Tereshkin, 9-0 and 22-0. Obviously, Jared Anderson, a sparring partner of Tyson Fury, 9-0, 9 KOs. A few of them came in the bubble. It's just a brilliant card. It's star-studded. Helenius and Kaunaki, I don't think that goes the distance. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I just don't see that going the distance. I mean, it's the very first fight back as well for Kaunaki. It's an instant rematch, even though it feels like it's been, I think, over a year. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Yeah, I've got to say it, Eddie, and I said it to you before we started recording the show. I'm just a little bit nervous about the fact that Malik Scott, for those that don't know who I'm talking about, has gone into the camp of Deontay Wilder. They've got rid of a few guys, and Malik seems to be uploading these videos where, I've got to say it, Deontay Wilder looks kind of fluid in the pad work and stuff. I know it's only pad work, but I'm seeing it and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, he's not throwing punches like Deontay Wilder. He looks quite well-rounded on those pads, and that is just giving me a little bit of nerves, to be honest. Obviously, I want Fury to win just like you do. I remember the first fight they had, I was certain of it that Deontay Wilder would knock Fury out. I was certain. Obviously, it went the distance. No one saw that, coming, and it ended in a draw. No one saw that coming. The second fight, I was very, very, very confident that Fury's going to win, and he did. And then this third fight here, it's weird, but I'm more nervous about it than I am the second fight, because I just don't understand how that makes sense. The first fight ends in a draw, but I took confidence from the fact that Fury wasn't really in the best shape, probably not mentally as well, especially not physically, but he steamrolled him in that second fight. Like, he completely steamrolled him. It was like so one-sided, so dominant, and it looked like a baby against a gorilla or something in there. And this second fight, the third fight, for some reason, even after seeing him completely run him over in that second fight, I'm just a little bit nervous. I think it's something to do with Malik Scott. I don't know. But it's just high stakes. It's high stakes. And obviously, Eddie, we were supposed to see, and this is something I just want to bring up before you can come in a sec. We were supposed to see Fury and Joshua get it on. And I remember Steve Bunt not just saying to me, but I went to an event he was at, and he someone asked him a question, what do you think about Joshua Fury when they get it on? And at this point, they both accepted fights with other people. Joshua was going to fight Usyk, and Wilder and Fury were going to fight for the third time. And Steve Bunt said at least one of them is going to lose. And obviously we've seen that happen with Joshua. He lost. And it just makes you think, I don't want to make any excuses for Anthony Joshua, but was maybe a little bit of his attention on getting past Usyk for the Fury fight, for the huge all-British fight. And if that was the case, I don't want Tyson Fury to have one eye on the Joshua fight, even though Joshua lost against Usyk, but it's still potentially Tyson Fury's next fight. It's the biggest fight for him. Yeah. So does he have one eye on that? I know he's a very focused guy. You know him much better than I do. You lived with him. What's your thoughts on that take?
Honestly, man, you know, Tyson has a bigger than life personality. He's a bigger than life guy as it is. So he likes to, you know, it's kind of like Floyd Mayweather will make you think, man, I don't train. I just come out there and fight. Man, I don't prepare. I don't look at video. I don't do this. I don't do that. He just want to kind of throw you off of what his real main focus is, because he don't want anybody knowing what's going on, honestly, behind closed doors. And to be honest, you shouldn't be leaking that much information out unless you want people to know things. And I think that's in this situation, you know, to give you a little bit of, well, I'm thinking about the Joshua fight a little more than I should be when I got this tiger coming at me on Saturday. But the reality of it is, I've been around him, man. As loose as he is and as happy and confident as he is, I know somewhere deep down, he's pacing like, I got to get this done. Like, he's focusing hard on this fight, because you can't have that huge moment in front of you. You know what I mean? We're talking about with Joshua when that was the fight to promote. You can't have that kind of opportunity in front of you and not think about it. Not saying he's looking past. I don't want to say that, but you can't. But with him, I feel like he takes it one fight at a time. Like, I've watched him. I've been in camp with him. I've seen how he's prepared for, you know, multiple guys. Chisora, too. I was there for it. Obviously, fights that don't matter, like Joey Abel and things like that, even though I like Joey. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't, you know, he wasn't on the level of what we're talking about now. And trust me, now that was at Peter's camp when we were training there, and it was 100% of the time focused on what we were trying to get done. But I still think that's part of his game. You know, he has kids, he has a family, doesn't want to take any chances on getting hurt. You know what I mean? This is serious business. So I think he's going to be focused 100% on who he's facing in this fight. I think if he doesn't get overconfident, and I know you were saying, Joey, man, he looks good on the pads. And listen, man, Joey, I can have you in the gym for a month, and I will have you looking good on the pads, straight up. And that doesn't say that Wilder isn't better, technically in certain aspects. But I'm going to tell you, I have a couple kids that I've been training for less than 3-4 months, and they all can look good on the pads, me holding the pads for them. So I don't want you to don't put too much into bag or pad work, because you can have a guy that looks great in preparation on those pads and doing all these nice little moves and these tricks, and it's beautiful, right? But then he gets in there, and as soon as the first punch is thrown, all that goes out the window. You know what I'm saying? And it goes back to what I said about Wilder and who Wilder is and how he fights and what he does and what his best attribute is. His best attribute is power and toughness, right? Not his skill. If he's going to win, he needs to try to stay away from that, trying to be the skill guy in there, because that's not going to happen. He would have to literally go back 10 years to work to that point. He would have to literally go back that far just to get half as far as he needs to be skill-wise as good. And it's just not going to – it's just a waste of his time and energy to just focus just on that. His focus should be on, how do I develop my jab and other things to get my right hand off a little smoother. You know what I mean? A little bit straighter in certain aspects, a little more, a little smarter. That makes sense. You know what I mean? And rather than trying to figure out how to outbox this guy, because that's not going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? And I know I sound overconfident, but it's not that I'm overconfident. It's just that I see what's in front of me. You know what I'm saying? And like, if I was in his corner, if I was Malik, I'd be like, look, let's just figure out how to get that right hand to land. You know what I'm saying? Because if we land that right hand in any way 2 or 3 times around, that's, you know what I mean? That's a chance right there to get you a win. Because we ain't thinking about the decision. We're thinking the 6 to 10 rounds at the most. You understand what I'm saying? And not even 10 rounds, 6 to 8 at the most that we expect to go if we're going to win. If it goes anywhere past that, we're toast. You understand what I'm saying? That would be in my mind. How do we get this right hand to land? How do we detonate this bomb? That's it. That should be his focus.
Yeah, like I say, it's a brilliant, brilliant evening of boxing, especially in the UK. There's 3 events that you can watch on TV / tablet or whatever for DAZN. 3 events in one night. It's going to be a busy, busy Saturday for everyone that's going to be watching all 3, like I will be. But yeah, brilliant, brilliant card. The Wilder Fury fight. I mean, gosh, it's one of those ones which my heart will be pumping out my chest, man. I get so excited for these kinds of fights. I remember the first one like it was yesterday, the second one like it was the day before, the day after, and this one's going to be another one. I'm sure that's going to, live long in the memory. And hopefully, whatever happens, hopefully we don't see a full fight. We don't need to see a full fight. No one cares about it. I just want Fury to get in there, knock him out, get out of there, and never ever talk about Fury Wilder, the full fight. That's what we all want to see.
How about this, Joe? We saw him get dominated, Wilder, 2 fights. In 2 fights, regardless of what the scorecard said in the first fight, we already know what happened in it. We're just gonna say 2 fights, right? And we still are falling in for the hype for the third fight. Not necessarily me, but there is nerves there. But my nerves are only because I know how tight. But my only reason is because of Tyson. It's not because of what Wilder can do and all of that as much as it is Tyson. Because I know how Tyson can be. He can be like, man, this dude ain't shit. I'm gonna go in here. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And then it's just like he'll get excited in there and start having too much fun. And that's what I don't want to happen. You know what I mean? Just go in there and handle business, man, and get that shit over with. Even if you can swim without getting wet for 12 rounds, do it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I've just got a feeling that this fight 100% doesn't go the distance. That's what I think. I mean, obviously the first one did, the second one didn't, but this one here, I'm more sure than ever in any of these fights that it doesn't go the distance. And I say that because obviously the first one we saw Fury do what you said. I mean, he almost swum without getting wet for 12 rounds. He did get wet in the end, of course, but we saw him do that. Then the second one, he said he's going to just come for him and just, steamroll him, and he did. I mean, they're really the 2 kinds of ways you can fight. You can either kind of be like, I don't want to say defensive and offensive, but you can try and bomb someone out, or you can try and box, smartly, cleverly. And he did that both. He's done that. I mean, there's not a third way to go about things, is there?
That's a good question, Joe. If there is, I want to see that next.
Yeah, maybe. But no, it's it's a great fight, and I do get nervous about Fury. Obviously, I'm a massive Fury fan. Always have been from the very first time I seen him fight. I mean, gosh, I don't know him personally. Obviously, you do, but he's a guy that I get nervous seeing him fight. And just because it's Wilder, and you know that he can be losing 11 rounds and 2 minutes 50 of the 12th round, he can still knock you out. That's why it's such a dangerous fight. But anyways, we have spoke about it enough there. It's going to be unbelievable. If you're listening to me now and you're not going to watch the fight, I don't know what to say. This is what boxing is all about. If you're a fan, you have to watch it. Oh my gosh. It's going to probably be on around 5 in the morning UK time. I will be awake with a few energy drinks around me. I will not miss this one live. But anyway, that is it though for the preview part. In part 1, we did the reviewing. We welcomed our special guest, Callum Smith, former WBA Super-Middleweight World Champion. And in part 2, we did the news and the previewing. I've just wrapped it up there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 312 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our special guest, the former WBA Super-Middleweight World Champion, Callum Smith. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Remember, if you do have a spare 2 minutes, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really means a lot to us. And if you want to improve your below-the-waist hygiene for a cheap price, visit Manscaped. manscaped.com. And remember to use the promo code BoxHard for 20% off plus free shipping. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.